The monitors screamed in a flat, merciless tone as the brightest surgeons in Manhattan stood frozen, their gloves slick with sweat, their faces drained of hope, while the most powerful woman in the city lay dying in front of them. No machine could stabilize her, no medicine could slow the collapse, and no amount of money could buy another second. The female CEO everyone admired, feared, and envied was slipping away, and in that moment, the entire world seemed to pause, waiting for a miracle that never came, until a poor single father stepped forward and did something no one expected. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of ordinary people to create extraordinary change, please take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Because stories like this remind us why humanity still matters. Her name was Victoria Harrington, the iron-willed CEO of a billion-dollar medical technology company based in New York City. She had built her empire from nothing, clawing her way through a world that tried to break her at every step. Known for her ruthless discipline and unmatched intelligence, she carried herself with an air of control that made even seasoned executives tremble. But beneath that polished exterior lived a lonely woman who had sacrificed everything, family, love, and peace, for success. That night, however, none of that power mattered. A rare, aggressive infection had ravaged her organs, sending her into sudden cardiac failure. The hospital halls were crowded with doctors, executives, and lawyers, but not a single one could stop the inevitable. Across the city, in a rundown apartment in the Bronx, lived Nathan Cole, a poor single father struggling to keep his head above water. Life had never been gentle with him. After his wife passed away from cancer, Nathan was left alone with his 6-year-old daughter, Grace, and a mountain of debt. He worked 2 exhausting jobs, cleaning offices at night and loading trucks at dawn, yet still barely scraped together enough to pay rent and buy groceries. His days were a blur of fatigue and quiet desperation, but his heart remained anchored to one purpose: giving Grace a better life. Despite the hardships, he never allowed bitterness to take root. Every morning, he reminded himself that kindness was the one thing no one could take from him. Fate intervened in the most unexpected way. Earlier that evening, Nathan had been rushed to the same hospital after collapsing at work from exhaustion and dehydration. While doctors treated him, routine tests revealed that his blood carried a rare antibody that made him an exceptionally compatible donor for a specific life-saving procedure. The odds of such compatibility were nearly impossible. Coincidentally, Victoria Harrington required exactly that rare blood profile to attempt an experimental treatment that could restart her failing organs. Time was evaporating, and every second increased the risk of irreversible damage. When hospital staff approached Nathan with the request, they hesitated, knowing the strain he was already under. But Nathan listened quietly, his tired eyes steady, his thoughts drifting to Grace and the fragile thread that tied every life together. He understood the weight of the decision immediately. The procedure would be risky, exhausting, and unpaid. It would require days of recovery he could not afford, time away from work he desperately needed. Yet he agreed without hesitation, not for recognition or reward, but because he believed that if he had the power to save a life, he had the responsibility to try. As doctors prepared him for the procedure, news of his decision spread through the hospital. Nurses whispered in awe. Surgeons found renewed focus. The sterile halls buzzed with a cautious hope that had been absent moments before. Meanwhile, Victoria lay unconscious, unaware that the man who might save her life was a stranger who owned nothing but courage and compassion. The experimental procedure began just before midnight, a marathon of precision, endurance, and prayer. Machines hummed, lights glared, and hearts pounded as Nathan's rare blood and antibodies were carefully transferred, guiding her body back from the brink. Hours passed in tense silence. At dawn, the unthinkable happened. Victoria's vitals stabilized. Her heartbeat strengthened, oxygen levels rose, and organ function slowly returned. Against every expectation, she survived. The medical team stood in stunned disbelief, while Nathan lay pale and weak in a nearby room, unaware of the miracle he had sparked. When he finally awoke, his first thought was of Grace, wondering if she had eaten breakfast and brushed her teeth. He did not consider himself a hero. He simply believed he had done what any father, any human being should. Days later, as Victoria regained consciousness, she demanded to know who had saved her. The truth shook her deeply. Learning that her life now depended on the sacrifice of a struggling single father shattered the fortress around her heart. For the first time in years, she confronted the reality of how disconnected she had become from ordinary life. She insisted on meeting Nathan, and when their paths finally crossed in a quiet hospital room, something irreversible shifted inside her. His worn clothes, gentle demeanor, and unwavering humility revealed a strength far greater than any corporate power she had ever commanded. Victoria soon discovered the harsh realities of Nathan's life, the relentless bills, the constant fear of eviction, the fragile health of his daughter, and the exhaustion that haunted his every step. She realized that while she had chased success, he had embodied purpose. Deeply moved, she made a decision that would redefine both their futures. Without publicity or grand gestures, she arranged for Nathan's debts to be cleared, secured him a stable job within her company, and funded Grace's education from elementary school through college. More importantly, she dedicated a division of her empire to supporting families battling poverty and illness, inspired by the man who had saved her life without asking for anything in return. The transformation in Nathan's life was profound, yet he remained grounded. He continued waking early, working diligently, and teaching Grace the values of kindness, gratitude, and resilience. His small apartment eventually gave way to a modest home filled with warmth and laughter, but his humility never faded. For Victoria, the experience reshaped her worldview. She shifted her focus from relentless profit to compassionate leadership, investing in healthcare innovations that prioritized accessibility and dignity. Her company flourished, not merely in wealth but in impact, saving countless lives and restoring hope to communities long forgotten. Years later, the story of the dying CEO and the poor single father became a quiet legend within hospital corridors, shared in hushed tones as a reminder that miracles often arrive in ordinary forms. Nathan and Victoria remained connected, bound not by obligation, but by a shared understanding of grace. Their lives became testaments to the profound ripple effect of one selfless act, proving that the smallest decisions can alter the course of destiny. As you reflect on this story, remember that every day offers an opportunity to change someone's life, sometimes in ways we may never fully comprehend. If this journey of sacrifice, hope, and redemption touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know in the comments how this story made you feel. Your engagement helps keep these powerful stories alive and reaching those who need them most. And before the ending, please comment a single word that best describes what this story awakened inside you, because your voice matters more than you know. In a world often defined by ambition and struggle, the courage of one poor single father reminded us all that compassion is the greatest wealth any human can possess, and that even in the darkest hours, light can still find its way through the cracks, illuminating paths we never believed possible.